Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 8:11 a.m. East Coast time, Sunday, July 7th. We got up later today. I didn't get up till like 6:30, 6:45, so we're starting the recordings later today. These four-game WNBA slates, it is going to start in the afternoon, I believe 3 p.m. East Coast time, so make sure when you're watching this that you know that. There'll also be night slates, so you could use the projections that I have. I do have projections for the players. Link down below. I also will have rankings, or sort of an initial rankings up there as well on Patreon. So with that all said, yes, it is going to start at 3. Sorry for this video being out a little bit later than usual. Hopefully you get all the information that you need. I'll be covering everything: injury news, target offense sheet, which games are in the best spots today, and then yes, early interest, look at the projections a little bit from that standpoint. Not show them on screen, but you can get them on Patreon down below. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. My name is Wnba. I cover daily fantasy sports and all the major sports, WNBA as well. But yeah, I did a YouTube thing yesterday. They updated some of their analytics tools, and 49%, so I'll just say half of the viewers watching my stuff are not subscribed. Yes, 51% of the watch time in the past 60 days, so the past 2 months, has been via subscribers. 49% has been non-subscribed. So for the half of you watching this, because now I know how many there are, I thought it might have been a few. Half of the people watching this video, so I don't know, 500, 600, 700, how many of you see this today? Half of you aren't subscribed. Please, I just ask. Take 2 seconds, hit the red button. It costs you nothing. This information is free. Your payment can just be hitting the red button, which allows me to grow elsewhere. I can't stress that enough, how important that is if you can just hit that red button. I thought there was like 10, 20 people watching, but there's realistically hundreds of you watching. So again, if you're on your phone, if you're on your laptop, whatever you are, take 2 seconds and hit that button. It does not take anything out of your day, but it can go a long way to allow me to keep doing this, because weeks from now, who knows if I can keep doing this. I mean, I'm sure I will be, but the thing is, if third parties can continue to fund me, I can continue to put 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day into DFS instead of a more full-time job. So please, I beg of you, thank you. That's a little rant for that. I saw 49%. I was like, what the hell? But yeah, let's get into it. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, there are projections for the WNBA linked on Patreon down below, as well as I will have some rankings up there as well. So Diana Taurasi, this saga that we've been dealing with for a week or two now, she didn't play, although she was expected to play in the last game versus New York. Now, I just have her as questionable. I'm putting her as 0 minutes in my player projections. If obviously that changes, we will alter all the minutes for the Phoenix team. And yeah, she's going to affect a lot of things if she's in. She's going to affect Wnba Bonner. She's going to affect Lalana Mitchell, whose minutes have, or whose salary has come up by $2,000 because it was wrongfully priced the last time out, right? Brianne January, Essence Carsons, all these guards are going to be negatively affected to the point where I probably still want to get to some of them, but nowhere near top dollar Wnba Bonner, potentially going to be playing a Lalana Mitchell, regardless of if Taurasi is playing or not. So that's where I'm at right now. On Taurasi, you're just going to have to wait and see. Keep an eye on my Twitter, at SalvetraDFS. Keep an eye on Line Star. Keep an eye on just all the news there. Gloria Johnson is returning from overseas. She has missed now about 3 weeks going overseas. She's returning for Dallas. This is going to affect a lot of players. It's going to affect Megan Gustan, who is seeing about 10 to 12 minutes a game since Johnson left. They specifically signed Gustan. I imagine she really doesn't see any time now. Isabel Harrison should see probably around the same minutes, around 24, 25 instead of her 27, 28. And then Teresa Plysands is probably going to be one who takes the biggest hit, steps back from close to 30 minutes per game in some of these games to closer to 20 is what I have her at. So Gloria Johnson, not in play for me today. Oh, yeah, she could be in play, but not a priority for me today. And she kind of makes the rest of those Dallas forwards unattractive. Alana Beard was a late scratch in the last game. Not sure many people noticed this, but her wife, I believe her wife had a child. It was a personal matter. Alana Beard should be probable today. She's been playing around 20 minutes per game, only in a limited sample, but it's going to affect Sydney Weiss. It's going to affect Mabry. It's going to affect Ruffin Pratt and Raquana Williams. I believe Raquana Williams will be affected the least, but players that will be affected the most, Ruffin Pratt probably goes back to the teens in minutes. Weiss might honestly just get ruled out. So here's the thing with this LA team. Alana Beard missed the last game. In the game before that, you had Nika missing the game to go film Space Jam or work on the Space Jam movie. So that's 2 games in a row that some 20-plus minutes in the starting lineup has been out. So we don't really have a true sample. At least we haven't, because they haven't played in a week, which is crazy. So for the past 2 weeks or so, we haven't seen a true sample of what this LA team is with Candace Parker. We've had like a 20-minute sample and a blowout. So the minutes are going to be all over the place today. I kind of stay away from this team in general. It's a really difficult matchup against Washington anyways, and we'll get into that. But yeah, the minutes should be all over the place. I don't think that you're going to get a lot of minutes out of a Sydney Weiss. I don't think that you're going to get a lot of minutes out of a Mabry or a Kalani Brown today. Azura Stevens is now out for a while with a foot injury. That's just something to note. Nia Covey was ill in the Friday game. She's now questionable for today with this illness, or they probably haven't even listed her as questionable yet. I'm just listing her as questionable. There's no injury designation, but I have her in. I have her projected for like her normal 14 minutes or so. If something happens and the illness is keeping her out again, I will update the projections. And Katie Lou Samuelson, she had her cast removed on Wednesday, and they have her as questionable today. I'm putting her in as doubtful. She had her cast removed on her hand. She plays basketball. That was 4 or 5 days ago. There's no way that hand is ready to go today. There's no way they should put her back. So I have her in as doubtful. If not, she should already be ruled out. So that's where outward injury news. Diana Taurasi saga continues in Phoenix. Let's see if she plays today. Who knows? It's 2 days later. She didn't play in the last game. Maybe they'll just start her in the next game since they'll have a bunch of days off. Chloe Johnson is back, and Alana Beard will be back. So those are the things that will impact this slate. Let's take a look at the target offense sheet. Please, please, please hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. That's the thing that matters the most. I'll blow this up even more. Look at that. We blew it all the way up. So target offense sheet. The main thing I'm looking at here is pace. The Vegas, you can look at those. Those are totals that I project. I do this at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, usually 5 in the morning sometimes. And I just project these totals. They're usually way off, but for the most part, they're a small factor, or they're an important factor in my projections, but they don't skew the points as much as like the 6 other factors I use. So it's just a matter of getting a number in there so my projections actually pop out a point projection. So if for some reason the total's off by 5 points, it might change a player's projection by like 0.2, 0.3. So it's no big deal. It's just a matter of getting them on paper. So you see them here. They're most likely going to be wrong, and I don't really care too much. I care more so about the pace, and I do try and project them accurately, but again, I'm not a lines maker. The pace I care about: Las Vegas and New York, two of the 3 fastest teams in the league. It's going to be the fastest pace game on the slate today. We saw this become a really big blowout about a month ago. I'm not going to try and just go off of that and say that this one's going to be a blowout as well. But we did see Tina Charles only play 18 minutes. We saw players play reduced minutes. The Asia Wilsons only saw 24, 25 due to the blowout. Like I said, Charles. So, yeah, this is a spot that is dangerous, but it's going to be fast-paced. There's going to be a lot of possessions in this game. If the game stays close, it's going to be potentially touching 170s in overall points, total points today. Washington and Los Angeles, this game should be a decently paced game, the second highest on the slate. Both teams, Washington will experience pace of spot. LA right around what they usually are playing at. I do have interest in the Washington side here today. We'll talk about that in a second. I have a lot of interest in that side. And like I kind of hinted, the LA side gets to go up against a really difficult defense today in a spot where their minutes are pretty much unstable outside of maybe 3 or 4 of them. We'll talk about a couple I have interest in, maybe just one from LA, and we'll go from there. Dallas and Chicago, not a game that I have a ton of interest in. Dallas plays at a very snail pace. It's going to push down this pace overall. Chicago's going to have to play slower. Chicago, for the most part, they have 2 guards that you really want to get to, or sometimes want to get to, and they're not that attractive a lot of the time. Now, the matchup against Dallas, we'll talk about, it's a little bit decent, but not really trying to go there. Dallas is going to get thrown all around with the injury news and the return of Glory Johnson really there, so that's going to hurt a lot of things in terms of my interest. Atlanta and Phoenix, there's some things I'm interested in here. There's going to be great matchups for the Phoenix side of the ball. It's going to depend on Diana Taurasi. Atlanta side of the ball, never really get to Atlanta at all. We'll touch on some things there, but it's going to be the slowest paced game on the slate. When you compare Atlanta and Phoenix to the Vegas and New York game, if we're just going to assume that all these games stay close because I don't know what else to do, I don't want to project blowouts here. That's just so risky to try and do. Well, that game's going to feature about 11 more possessions per team. So the projected pace, P game pace, is projected game pace. That's per team. So, yeah, you're going to see like 20 more possessions on average in the Las Vegas-New York game than the Atlanta-Phoenix game. So if you're talking about just targeting players, maybe not stacking full games like Las Vegas and New York, although I think taking 4 players if you want to from that game and hoping it goes into overtime or hoping it scores 10 to 20 more points than any other game, I think that that's a decent strategy. But overall, there's going to be just more points to go around in the Las Vegas and New York and Washington LA game compared to these other games by about 10 possessions and in some regards 20. So that's where I'm at right now. Let's go over to my early interests, and I will reduce these because they're going to be blown up to God knows how big. There we go. So I'll rank this, or it is ranked already by salary. Look, this is not rankings. These are not, I'm putting them in order of how interested I am in them. I was going through as I was doing the projections this morning. It took me like an hour because it was a 4-game slate today, but I was going through and pretty much just whoever stood out as an interesting value, whoever stood out as the matchup being great, the overall situation being great, the price being too low, whatever it was, I had an interest in them, whether for good or bad, and I put them on this list. It's a 4-game slate. There's 8 teams. So what do I have on here? 15 players' names. This is not my player pool, right? It is literally 8 in the morning. I know the games start in 7 hours, so I have all the time in the world, and I was doing this an hour or two ago, so 10 hours almost before I was doing all of this. So these are just places where I find value, places where I find a lot of interesting spots. This is where I'm at. Elena Delle Donne is probably the best play on the slate. It's not even close. She has the best matchup in the league. LA is dead last against the forward position. Delle Donne is a top 3 to top 5 if you really want to argue. I'm going to say top 3 forward in the league. She's priced up to this price point for a reason, $11,000. I'm fine taking that. She's by far the best play on the slate. Brittany Griner today is going to be going up against Atlanta. This is a spot where Atlanta is very weak against the forward position, and Griner continues to see 35 plus minutes a game. She's seen 36 in back-to-back. I have her at 35 minutes today projection. She has not been great point per minute wise because Dewana Bonner, and then you have Leilani Mitchell as of late coming on and kind of filtering out the production there, which is why if Diana Taurasi is in this game, I'm going to have less interest in Griner. But if she's not, I'm going to have more interest. It's a very beneficial spot for Brittany Griner. Next one up, and actually, let me look into. Yeah, that should be good. And then next one up, I think Griner's matches was a little bit better than that. But next one up is Dewana Bonner. I don't have a ton of interest in Bonner. She comes up because she's one of like the 4 or 5 players on the slate that I have projected for 40 plus fantasy points. It might only be 4 with Delle Donne, Griner, and Bonner. And I think we might be getting Liz Cambridge touching right around 40 in my projection. Although it's very minutes dependent for Cambridge. You never know where those are going to go. So Bonner is somewhat interesting to me today if Taurasi is out, obviously. But then I also have interest in Leilani Mitchell, which we'll get to in a second. And she's about $4,000 less and on the same team at the same position. So I don't want 2 players on the same team at the same position. It's never a bad thing, but in terms of trying to get them to hit their ceilings in tournaments, I'd rather pay for the cheaper one who has been getting there as of late. Bonner, though, it's still a decent matchup against Atlanta. Nothing not to like. Kayla McBride. So look, these Las Vegas guards I'm going to have interest in. You're going to see a couple of them on here. And the main reason why I'm going to have interest in them, and pretty much all of them, is because New York is dead last against the guard position. We've seen guards have career nights against this New York team multiple times this year, and just pretty much every single time have solid nights out there. So have a lot of interest in Kayla McBride, a guard for the Las Vegas team. Have a lot of interest in the other 2 guards, and Jackie Young, whose minutes are all over the place. She did see 33 or 32 minutes the last time that they played New York. I don't want to go off of that too much because, again, it was a 1-game sample that blew out. So she got a decent amount of blowout run there. Her minutes are all over the place, Jackie Young. She's the definition of a GPP play. She could play 18 minutes or she could play 34 minutes. You don't know. It's pretty much how well she's playing if she stays in those rotations. Kelsey Plum is 5,700. Kelsey Plum's minutes have not been the most stable all year long, and now you're kind of seeing her gravitate more so towards 25. Her point per minute production isn't the greatest, but she has, again, this best matchup against New York, and the price point of 5,700 is nice. If there was a time to play Kelsey Plum and roster her in cash or a GPP, it would be today. And I might just do so. The New York Cards on the other side against Las Vegas in the same game, they also have a beneficial matchup. Las Vegas is bottom 3 in the league in terms of defending, right there with New York, the guard position. So Brittany Boyd, somebody who saw less minutes in the last game, I'm not looking too much into that. I think her minutes are fine, stabilizing around 30 as of late. So I have interest in Brittany Boyd today. I have interest in Tanisha Wright. Tanisha Wright is one of the better values on the slate. She continues to see right around 20 minutes as of late, and she's a very good point per minute producer at 5,400 with this matchup. At 5,400 with this matchup, I do have a good amount of interest in Tanisha Wright today. Going down a little bit more onto this list, Ariel Atkins and Latoya Sanders versus LA. Again, these are just the forwards. So I have a lot of interest in Elena Delle Donne for Washington. The other forwards for Washington who are a bit cheaper, in Ariel Atkins and Latoya Sanders, they both grade out as good plays. I do prefer the more expensive Ariel Atkins today. Rashonda Gray is still too cheap. Look, I get it. Her price is now all the way up to 6,900, almost in the 7K range. But in this matchup, she's still too cheap. The amount of minutes that she should play, 25 plus, closer to 30 today. She's too cheap, crashing the boards, as should still be a starter. As long as that's the case, I have a lot of interest. Brittany Sykes is probably the only player from Atlanta I have interest in today. She's cheap enough, gets a decent matchup against the this Phoenix team. And for the most part, it's just a price point. I like this price point for a player who's probably going to see around 30 minutes and has shown flashes of being productive. More of a GPP play here for me. We talked about Leilani Mitchell being way too cheap for Phoenix against Atlanta. I don't know what's wrong. They put her to 7K. They drop her down to 4,400. Now she's at 6,500. If there is no Diana Taurasi today, Leilani Mitchell remains a fantastic play. This LA team, the only interest that I have is going to be Raquan Williams. So Raquan Williams, yeah, she's probably going to see less minutes today because I imagine Alana Beard is back in the lineup. But Williams should be the first player off the bench, and maybe they do something weird and continue to start her. But she's the player that they want to continue to get 25 plus minutes out of. I believe I have her at 27 or 28 today for the price point of $6,000. It's just kind of too good to overlook. Not a lock by any means, but too good to overlook. Elena Delle Donne is the only player that I'm trying to prioritize today. Everybody else kind of just... The players on this list stand out more so than others, obviously. They're on this list. But nobody else stands out on this list more than Elena Delle Donne. Maybe Elena Mitchell does at her price point. Those names kind of sound the same. But anyways, that's where I'm at right now. Hope this helps. Before you leave, hit the red subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds, please. Comment down below what you like the most out of these videos. Hit the like button if you want. I don't really care if you do, but you can if you want to. And this is where I'm at. Patreon has the projections. They're going to be there right now. And then I'll also have sort of an initial ranking. You can get that down below. Thank you guys so much. Thank you girls so much. Best of luck today. Peace out, gang.